Cold cases are mysteries that once went silent, unsolved crimes left behind because the evidence simply wasn't enough. But thanks to modern science, many of these stories are getting a second chance. Breakthroughs in DNA analysis, genetic genealogy, and digital forensics now allow investigators to revisit old evidence with brand new tools. A single touch of DNA or a match in a genealogy database can expose the truth behind decades-old crimes. Public interest, online tip sharing, and specialized cold case units have also become powerful allies in solving these forgotten investigations. Solving a cold case isn't only about justice. It's about giving families the closure they've waited for, sometimes for generations. Before we continue, a quick mention of a game I've been enjoying lately, Scatter Slots. It's a unique mobile game that combines dark fantasy visuals, RPG-style mechanics, and social gameplay. With over 20 million players worldwide, you can team up or compete as you journey through an adventure-style map, unlocking new slots as you go. What makes it stand out is the sense of progress. Every spin feels like part of a bigger story. The Scatter Champions feature lets you collect cards, level up characters, and earn rewards. The graphics, music, and design make it feel immersive and high quality, and the best part? It's free to play on both phones and tablets, online or offline. If you're looking for a fun escape between videos, download Scatter Slots today and get 12 million free coins to start your adventure. Now, let's get into today's case, one that took nearly 3 decades to solve. In July 1973, 21-year-old Ketta Penny Sarah was brutally attacked in broad daylight in New Haven, Connecticut. Despite multiple witnesses and strong early leads, her case would remain unsolved for almost 30 years. Penny was born on March 2, 1952, to John and Pauline Sarah, an Italian-American family in New Haven. Her childhood took a tragic turn when her mother passed away in 1963. At just 11 years old, Penny stepped up to care for her younger sister, Rosemary, and helped her father run the family's auto repair business. By her teenage years, Penny was known for her kindness and determination. She attended Wilbur Cross High School and hoped to attend college after graduation, though she chose to work first to support herself. By 1973, she was employed as a dental assistant and engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Philip Dito, whose family owned a nearby lunch spot. Their relationship, however, had its challenges, and though their engagement ended, they remained close friends. On the morning of July 16, 1973, Penny parked her father's blue Buick Electra in a downtown parking garage before heading to work. But just after noon, tragedy struck. She was suddenly attacked by an unknown man in the garage. Though she tried to reach her car for safety, she collapsed beside it. Witnesses quickly alerted authorities, but by the time emergency services arrived, Penny had passed away from her injuries. The case immediately drew major attention. Witnesses described seeing a man chase Penny through the garage and flee the scene in a car. Investigators found blood evidence in and around her father's vehicle, along with a trail leading to an upper floor. Inside the car, they discovered a tissue box with bloody fingerprints, one that would later prove crucial. Police pursued multiple leads over the years. Penny's ex-fiancé was questioned but cleared. Another suspect, Anthony Galino, was arrested in 1984 after his wife's statements raised suspicion, but blood tests ruled him out. Even a man with a similar license plate was investigated, but again, no charges followed. The case seemed doomed to remain unsolved. In 1987, Penny's father, John Sarah, urged prosecutors to take a fresh look. Investigators reenacted the crime scene and determined the attack likely started on the 7th floor and that the suspect had injured his left hand during the struggle. Still, there was no match. Not yet. Then, in 1997, everything changed. New fingerprint technology gave investigators a powerful new tool. A print from that old tissue box was scanned into the state's automated fingerprint system, and it matched Edward R. Grant, a 59-year-old auto mechanic from Waterbury, Connecticut. Further tests showed Grant's blood type matched the samples from the scene, and new DNA testing confirmed the connection. He had no known link to Penny, making the crime all the more shocking. In 2002, nearly 30 years later, Grant stood trial for Penny's murder. The prosecution presented the fingerprint and DNA evidence as irrefutable proof. The defense tried to question the handling of the old evidence, but the science held strong. On September 27, 2002, the jury found Edward Grant guilty. He was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. In the courtroom, emotions were raw. Penny's sister, Rosemary, wept as the verdict was read. Her cousin, Joseph Sarah, spoke for the family, saying that Grant had stolen not just Penny's life, but part of their father's soul. In March 1984, a father walked into his daughter's home in Houston, Texas, and made a heartbreaking discovery that would haunt the family for decades. Years later, a DNA database would finally unlock the truth. Wayne Faye Kennedy was born on January 22, 1951, to Charles and Elrose Kennedy. She was creative, driven, and full of ideas. Wayne turned her artistic eye into a career, running a small business that specialized in antique clothing, vintage fashion, and custom jewelry. She also built a reputation as an interior decorator, known especially for her work with stained glass. She wasn't alone in the world. Wayne shared a close bond with her younger sister, Lily Dale Kennedy, born 10 years later in 1961. The two lived together in the Heights neighborhood of Houston, a charming community filled with old homes and local shops. But on March 5, 1984, tragedy struck. That morning, their father arrived at the house and made a devastating discovery. Both of his daughters were gone. Shocked and grief-stricken, he immediately called police. Investigators arrived quickly and confirmed that both women had lost their lives in what was clearly a violent incident. The home had been ransacked, and several personal items were missing, suggesting that robbery might have played a role, but the level of violence hinted at something far more personal. Neighbors told police they had seen a man leaving the house around the time of the crime, carrying a duffel bag. When questioned, the man claimed he had just been kicked out by his wife, and the neighbor, unsure what was really happening, let him go. Despite interviews, evidence collection, and every lead pursued, the case grew cold. For decades, there were no arrests, no answers, and no justice. Then, in 2009, cold case detectives revisited the evidence. Using preserved material from the 1980s, they were able to extract a usable DNA profile and upload it into the CODIS system, the National DNA Database. But at that time, no match was found. 5 more years passed. Then, in 2014, an unexpected lead surfaced when a man involved in a separate investigation mentioned someone he believed had knowledge of the Kennedy case, a man named Edmund Deegan. Detectives tracked Deegan down, collected a DNA sample, and compared it to the old evidence. The results were undeniable, a direct match. After more than 3 decades, the mystery was finally solved. In 2015, Edmund Deegan was arrested and charged. 2 years later, in 2017, he was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Investigators later revealed that Deegan had actually been questioned back in 1984 but was never considered a serious suspect at the time. For the Kennedy family, the conviction brought long-awaited justice, but also a new wave of pain. Due to Texas's early release policy for inmates with good behavior credits, Deegan was freed in December 2021, after serving only 7 of his 15-year sentence. For the family, it felt like history repeating itself, justice granted, but not truly served. Their niece, Elliot, expressed how painful it was to see the man responsible walk free so soon. Today, the Kennedy sisters rest side by side in Hallettsville, Texas. At their father's request, their headstones bear one haunting word: slain. It stands as a permanent reminder of 2 lives cut short, and of a family's lifelong fight for justice.